This is literally one of a painter's worst nightmares. I may be exaggerating a little bit, but it's a pain in the butt to deal with. So right here, what we have is blow through. The repair was on the front of our panel. Insurance deemed that we had enough room to do a blend on the repair panel, which we do. But now I gotta put color here. And our door's right here. I guess I'll show you guys how I do that. And we have to maintain a color match. I'll show you guys how I do it. Let me know how you do it. Maybe there's a better way. Also, I saw this clear coat method, and I know why I saw this clear coat method. I'm not gonna name any shops, but there's a shop out there that only lets their painters put on 1.5 coats of clear. So I'm gonna show you guys today how exactly they do that. Let me know what you think, and let's see how the finish looks. First thing we gotta do is hit this with our Bulldog. I know I'm gonna get a bunch of hate for this because I didn't tape this off. If you have a good way to tape this off, let me know in the comments, because I don't. I just wasted a bunch of time, and I even had the tape blow off there onto my fresh paint job one time. Ever since then, I just paint right over it. I don't care. And then we gotta seal this, so let's get that done. And since we're shooting a metallic color and there's no major body work that I have to worry about, I over-reduced my sealer, and I'm gonna show you guys the reason I did that right now. So the reason I did that is because obviously, since our blend is tight, I don't wanna have any issues with my sealer edge, and I also don't wanna have to stop to sand anything down or smooth anything out. I hate when my prep guy does this. Why would you leave this untaped and not tell me? What if I just shot sealer all over that? All right, I took care of that. Now the reason I over-reduced my sealer is, like I said, I don't want to have to deal with any issues with my sealer edge. I forgot to tack this down. That's not good. So we're gonna have to take care of a little dirt too. I'll bring this right to the edge, and that'll be it. Now we got lucky here because with the blow through, there's no metal showing. So I don't actually have to put any sealer there, which is good. Sometimes if I forget to tack my sealer before I put my sealer on, I'll just kind of load it up. And most of the time, it fills in all the dirt. I mean, here you see a couple little spots. That's definitely gonna take longer to flash off if you do this, but it saves you a lot of pain. Because, I mean, me personally, I don't like sanding my base coat, ever. We got our paint mixed up. Now, first thing I'm gonna do is take care of this. Some of you guys might think I'm crazy for what I'm about to do, but you see this thing calls for a G6 sealer, right? It's gonna take way too much paint for me to cover this white primer. So what I am going to do is take our touch-up brush. I'll drip some paint right on the edge, just like that. And then I'll go ever so lightly, just like that. And then before that completely dries, I'm gonna throw a wet bed right on top of it. That's gonna help that touch-up paint melt in to our panel. Basically, it'll help it have less texture. It'll help it stand up less, so it'll be less noticeable. But that's not all we're gonna do for that spot, obviously. Throw a nice healthy wet bed over this whole thing. All right, now we're gonna let this dry a little bit, and then we'll throw our first coat of color on. In the meantime, we'll start getting our color on our bumper. I think what I'm gonna do when I'm experimenting with that clear method, that 1.5 coats, I'm gonna do the 1.5 coats of clear on the bumper, and then we're gonna do our regular 2 coats of clear on our hood and fender. This way we can also compare the finish. So I'm gonna start taking care of that problem area now. Let me show you guys how I have my gun set up. You see it's almost like an airbrush. See that? I got my fan turned all the way in, my pressure pretty low. Now what I'm gonna do is essentially go straight up this body line where we have our blow through. And this is our first coat. All right, so that's it for that. Now we have our color on the body line and maybe about an inch out on either side. Now I'll open everything back up. We'll throw our first coat of color over our sealer. What I'll do here is start at the edge. And you see when I got up here, I kind of stopped myself. Oh shoot, sorry about that. When I got up here, I kind of stopped myself and then I shot my color this way. All right, we'll let this flash off and then we'll see how everything looks so far. Came outside while it's drying to look at my work, you know, make myself feel better. And then I remembered this got blown through also, and we put touch-up paint on it. I genuinely don't think there's anything that's more upsetting than your job getting messed up after it comes out of the booth. Have you guys ever painted something beautifully, only to come back and find out someone needs touch-up paint because they scratched something? Yeah, we've all been there. Let me know some of your favorite stories in the comments below. Back to our blow-through area. You can see our touch-up paint is right here. That wet bed did a great job of melting it in. Now what I'm doing is I'm taking 3000 grit Trizac and I'm gonna go around that body line very lightly. The goal here is to take off any color that I don't need, right? So I'll do it on my door edge in case we got any overspray there. And I'm just going around the body line because obviously we got color there. You know, we kept it as minimal as we could. And then what I'll also do is I'll move up here and I'll do the same thing. And the reason I'm using 3000 is so I don't have to worry about putting scratches in that my paint or my base coat is not gonna fill. And it's also giving me a fresh start after I achieved coverage. Now back to our blow through. Here's how I have my gun set up. You can see I have it open just a little bit more than it was the first time. Everything's sanded down with 3000. So even if I cleared over this, you're not gonna see these scratches. Even though it looks different than the area I painted, it would look the same with clear. What I'm gonna do now is one pass directly over that line and blend into my existing blend. This way I don't have to worry about blending this area anymore. And that's it. Now to handle the rest of this blend, which we basically have a fresh start on because I sanded about 4 inches in. Again, this is the same thing. Even though this looks different, once I cleared, this would look the same as this. What I'll do now is I'll actually blend this up and I'm aiming to go for the corner of this fender. And then I'll blend our hood, I'll start blending our hood out. I'll go in one direction and then I switch and go a little further in the other direction. And since we're putting a bumper on, we'll throw a little color in the front of our hood. The bumper butts up right against the hood, so we want to have the same color here as the top of our bumper. And we'll do the same thing one more time. I open my fan just a little bit more this time, and I'm going a little further across my hood this time. And I'll blend this up just a little bit. When I blend this up right here, I want to make sure I'm not going too far up that I'm gonna screw the color up on that side of the hood. All right, we're all set for clear. I'm gonna go mix that up. I'm gonna shoot the bumper with you guys. So I'm gonna do the 1.5 coats on the bumper. Then once that's done, I'm gonna throw my regular 2 coats on the hood and fender, and we'll see how it compares and if 1.5 coats could really cut it. All right, without further ado, we are going to try this 1.5 coats clear on this bumper, and I'll show you guys exactly how he did it. Personally, I think it's absolutely nuts that a shop only allows enough clear for 1.5 coats for their painters. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's find out.
Now, I felt like dropping an absolute gem of a paint job on this Tesla hood, so I'm using my DV1. Everything full open. Actually, no, I have my fan in 1 turn, and I'm at 21 PSI. So here's how he did it. First, he dropped a really light coat on, like so. It's basically like a drop coat, but with clear. Now, I don't know if there's like a special clear that he used for this. And I don't remember his name, otherwise I'd shout him out. And then he literally just waited for the overspray to settle, and he goes right back at it and hammers a heavy coat on. Have you guys ever heard of a 1 coat clear? Apparently there's a clear out there, you put 1 coat and that's it. And it has incredible build. Let me know in the comments if you heard of that. If not, I'm gonna get my hands on it and give it a shot. All right, overspray is down. Let's hammer it on and cross our fingers. Guys, I'm doing this for you, so if you enjoy this kind of content, please consider liking, maybe drop a comment, and even subscribing. Because, you know, I'm taking a shot in the dark here. But even if this doesn't come out the absolute best, I know that will. Now this is going to be a little tricky, but we'll get it. Actually, it's looking pretty good so far. But my concern would be, is there enough material on here to de-nib the bumper if we got dirt? That's what I would be concerned about. It does look pretty freaking good, I can't lie. Alright, I'm gonna throw my 2 coats on here, and then I'll show you guys the results, and we'll see how we did at maintaining the factory match from the door to the fender.
All right, here's our finished product. I have to be honest, I am thoroughly impressed with how this bumper came out. I would never be able to tell you that there's a half coat less than there should be, except for the fact that I got a run out of the cap, which is not a big deal. I could take care of that. That actually happens whether you do 1.5 or 2 coats, but maybe if I gave it a little more time to flash off before I laid on that 2nd coat, maybe that wouldn't have happened. And our hood looks absolutely beautiful. And our blend, you can see we maintained a quality match all the way down, even where we did our little touch up right here. And you would never be able to tell I can't even find the touch-up paint, to be honest with you. Can't even find it. So that definitely worked, and our blend definitely worked. Anyway, that's going to be it for this one, guys. If you enjoyed the video, if you got any value out of it, if you could, drop a like, comment, and maybe even subscribe. It means a lot to me, and it helps out the channel a bunch. Anyway, until the next time, peace.